Hello everybody, Mr. West here, Principal at Templemore High School. Welcome to our weekly briefing, assembly, information presentation. Friday 5th of March 2021. No doubt you are anticipating me sharing with you our reopening information, which I will do shortly. But there's a few little bits and pieces I'd like to share with you before we get into the detail of what's to come. The first one is there is a really great, kind of inspirational, really, article in today's Guardian newspaper. If you want to try and track that down, it's in relation to a piece of work we've been completing with Pudsey Computers, where they've been refurbishing and redistributing old laptops and iPads, etc., and tablets to families who require them during the pandemic and the lockdown. And also it talks about the £5,000 that we've raised in terms of buying new ones. So that's in the Guardian. So that's under a kind of title: Transformational Yorkshire Firm Cleans Up Donated Laptops for Pupils at Home. Have a look at that. It's a good news story to start the weekend. So that's the first one. Second one, some thank yous really to all students, I guess, particularly for engaging in the remote learning. But in particular, I've been asked to note Year 10s who've had a really good couple of weeks. So thank you to Year 10 for all the hard work in terms of engaging in the remote learning. You've done a sterling job there. That's the feedback I've had from teachers. And also, I just need to mention all those students that have been in school, the children that have been coming in routinely over the last, I think it's 8 weeks now, that have been in every day. Again, well done for all the hard work that you've completed in the school. Thank you for your attention and thank you for your behaviour. You've been great. So that's a good news story. Another good news story for the weekend. Now, next week's going to be a really, really busy week. Okay, so I'm just going to explain to you that some live lessons may not run. Okay, but you will still have remote learning. Okay, so just bear with us, because that first 3 days we are kind of changing ourselves into a testing centre, which I'll come on to. And so I'm going to have staff either supervising students being tested or supervising other classrooms, or I might have staff that are off ill, and it's going to be very difficult to kind of manage all that. So it might be that sometimes you have a live lesson and sometimes you don't, but you will have remote learning up until the end of Wednesday, and then on Thursday we're all back in. So should we talk a little bit about that? Hopefully you will have got a link or received a link for a letter, which looks something like that from me, and a March reopening information document that will look something like that. In the letter, I essentially summarise what's in the document. Now, people have lots of questions about some of the aspects of our return to school, and they may say, well, in other schools are doing this, Mr. West, and in other schools are doing that, Mr. West. That's fine. In this school, we're doing what's in here, okay? And all the way through this, whenever we've reopened, we've shared a reopening documentation with you. It's been absolutely comprehensive and should answer all your questions. So I'll just remind you, if you've got some outstanding issues, or you need some clarification about certain points, or you're concerned about the return of your child to the school, or you're a student who is concerned about returning to the school after this third lockdown, please read this. I appreciate there are 16 pages, but everything is in here. If you don't find what you wanted here, then get in touch with the school. Please bear in mind we're going to be extremely busy, okay? As I say, we're going to try and be a school and a testing centre, something that we're not trained for, but we are now. Let's talk about testing then. So on Monday, the 8th of March, year 11, 12 and 13 students, you will come in on your allocated time that you'll receive and take a lateral flow test, okay? You get result very quickly. That's to be recorded on NHS Track and Trace, and then you will get a response, whether you'll get a positive or a negative test result from that test, okay? If you are negative, you are then welcome back on Tuesday the 9th of March for your normal lessons, okay? You're back in as normal into your classrooms. If you are positive, you must stay at home and follow the national guidance around self-isolation. And for that matter, anyone that's showing symptoms should also try and get a test, and that's the normal test that you book in online. Okay, so all those rules around testing and being in close proximity or being close to people at home still apply. Okay, don't come into school if you are ill or you feel you've got symptoms. Do not come to school. Okay, because the lateral flow test will not work if you've got symptoms. The other tests that you have at those centres are for that. Okay, so don't come in. Okay, these lateral flow tests test for asymptomatic symptoms. Asymptomatic symptoms, yeah. So it's important that you come in because the first question you'll be asked is, are you showing symptoms? And if you are, you'll be sent home. Okay, just so we're clear. On Tuesday the 9th of March, years 7 and 10 will be invited into school with your allocated time to take a test, and the same will apply as with years 11, 12 and 13. So 7s and 10s on Tuesday. When you had your test, you go home. If you are negative, then you can come back in on Wednesday the 10th, and then you'll go back into normal lessons, and we'll have an increase in the number of students in the building. On Wednesday the 10th of March, year 8 and 9 students, you will come in for your tests at your allocated time. Then you will go home. And if you are negative, you can then come back into school on Thursday the 11th. Any students that have to go home for a test, any students that go home after their test, you will have remote learning as normal, so please engage with that the normal way. And just so we're clear, those students that have not, or those parents that have not given consent for a test, those students only come in on the allocated day. So if you're in year 11, 12 and 13 and have not given consent for a test, do not come to school on Monday, okay? You will be in on Tuesday. If you're in year 7 or 10 and you've not given consent for a test, do not come on Tuesday, you come on Wednesday. And years 8 and 9, if you have not given consent for a test, do not come in on Wednesday, you come in on Thursday. All right? It's all in the letter. The next point we'll talk about is face coverings, a very emotive subject for many people, and I addressed this last week. I'm going to be extremely clear with you now about the expectations. Face coverings should be worn and are mandatory, okay, compulsory on corridors whilst moving around the school, okay, and there are sanctions applied for that in the normal fashion that we had before, okay, just so we're clear, that is the same. But we now have the option of allowing face coverings to be worn in classrooms, with the exception of PE, or where social distancing of 2 metres plus can be maintained. The use of face coverings in classrooms is not compulsory nor mandatory, but in keeping with national guidelines and the guidance that has been issued, they are recommended and should be worn. Okay, so we're absolutely clear. I understand that a lot of parents will try to now get in touch with me and they'll give their point of view, etc., etc. I understand that, but if you consult the guidance, it's absolutely clear, and I'm following the guidance. Okay, we've all got a strong opinion about face coverings. I've got my opinions as well, but I'm following the guidance. Okay, and I know you might quote other schools doing X and Y. That's fine. That's the guidance, and I'm following it as I've done all the way through. Students will not have to wear face coverings outside, particularly at break times when they're moving around outside. So you get that freedom at that point there as well. Okay, the school day returned to what it was before, which was that staggered start and entry point. So year 7s, when you come in for your first day back at school after your test, it's an 8:15 a.m. start. Year 8, 8:25, year 9, 8:35, year 10, 8:45, year 11, 8:55, and post-16 students, you know your arrangements as normal. Okay, it's really important that you come in at your allocated time, because otherwise what ends up happening, as it did back in September, is we get huge groups of students hanging out the gates, and of course groups of people, it's not healthy in terms of spreading COVID. Okay, it's not helpful at all. So we need to have people spread out, which is why we've got the staggered entry. So please don't all turn up at the same time. You've got your allocated time. Please stick to that. I know we're keen to get back to school, but that will help us with the management of the school. Okay? I just want to stress again, for the 100th time, you need to wash your hands. If you have a cold or a sneeze, or you want to blow your nose, make sure you do it. Then put it in the bin, the tissue, and then wash your hands again. Okay? The other thing to remember is that if you are wearing a face covering on the way to school, when you're on the bus, that has to be a different face covering from the one you use in school. So you need to keep as hygienic as possible. Also in this document is something in regards to examinations. So this is for year 11 and 13. Examinations will not take place this year, as we said. And there is an infographic here that will explain the process as we know it now. But I'll stress again what I said last week, which is it will not be a predicted grade like last year. So this isn't about what you might have got. This is about your current attainment, what you know now. So you'll be tested on the work that you've done and completed now. So it's important you do that work, both in school and at home. Then my staff can make that judgment about the grade that should be assigned to you, and that will then help you in terms of making your next steps in terms of your education, employment, or further training. All right. And as I said last week, I will have to sign off those grades as being accurate. So you really need to provide the evidence for my staff to be able to complete that piece of work. That's going to be a huge undertaking. I'm hoping the details will come out before Easter and we can share those with you. But at the minute, there's very little detail. Other than to say, A-level results day will be the 10th of August and GCSE results day will be the 12th of August. And we are not allowed to share the grades with you before that date. So please don't ask. All right? Okay, so anything else? There is. Now, we've had a continuing problem around parents bringing the cars into school, okay? I'm going to ask you politely not to do that again, all right? And the reason there's a problem is because otherwise the car park becomes too busy and becomes problematic and becomes a health and safety issue on a morning. Please drop off your child outside of school and please don't come into school. This is particularly important during the testing phase because some parents may think, oh, I'll just drop you off at school, I'll wait for you outside, I'll pick you up and we'll go again. It's only 5 minutes. That won't work because there'll be not enough space because the car park will be full because all the staff will be back and we need to have a flow. We don't need to endanger children. So please do not drive your cars onto school site. That helps me out loads, okay? That's it for now. Very business-like, isn't it, this week? But underneath all of that, all that kind of technical stuff and all that business-like and corporate approach to reopening, genuinely, I'm absolutely thrilled that the school can reopen and we can get back to normal. I know that lots of parents will be jumping for joy today because it's the last day of, well, nearly the last day of remote learning, okay? And you can send your children back, so it'll be great for you. So have a good weekend. But it's really important for us to get back together as a group. And what do I mean by that? I mean the chance to socialise with each other, to talk to each other, talk about experiences, and just be somewhere different than being at home, okay? It's good for the soul and it's good for the mind, okay? And I'm hoping that when we get back, we can get back into, you know, normal routines, start enjoying ourselves, enjoy our learning, and get through all of this. And I have a real sense of enthusiasm about this, the end of this lockdown, because I think we're nearly there, and hopefully then we can work towards all those dates in the coming months where lockdown eases and we get to the 21st of June. All right. Lots more information might come out next week. We might change things. I'm going to be really adaptable and I'll send all that out to you as quickly as I can. And again, I thank you for all your support. I'm looking forward to seeing students next week. Have a great weekend and let's get back to normal. All the best. Bye.